Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you are, whoever you are. Welcome once again to No Nerd Caliber, the show in which we, the folks at, well, Nerd Caliber, talk about things that we consider our top two, three, four, five elements within a given particular fandom. We usually try to tie it to a subject that is going to be the topic of in this week's full fat spoiler chat, which would normally be Thursday. This is, of course, Halloween week, Thanksgiving week,
Turkey.
Turkey week. Thank you. That's the two-headed push me pull you turkey. Um,
Yes.
so we're actually not going to be holding our show this week. We were thinking about moving it to Wednesday night, but that's just a problem for everybody as well. So our next show on Full Fat Spoiler Chat will be next Thursday, and that will be on Netflix's live-action Cowboy Bebop. So tonight's topic is top three coolest protagonists in any nerd media that is not Spike Spiegel. Because, he's of course the top.
Of course.
Marshall Lewis, welcome to the show. I tend to think I am a cool protagonist. Everybody's a protagonist in their own life, right? So,
Exactly.
and hopefully you're a cool one. So who are we? What are we doing here? I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on Facebook as a cosplay photographer, Burley_adopter on Twitter, a couple of other places. And the man with the tragic cough, but the cool hat, Byron, introduce yourself.
Hello, denizens of the Nerd Caliber universe. It is I, Byron McNeil, aka Byron D0, the Pirate King of the Internet. Contributing writer for Nerd Caliber, content creator, and social media consultant. I'm also a bit of an artist. I'm on Webtoons, so I do my little blurb about that. The series is called Sisterhoods, and it is a post-apocalyptic story that's heavily inspired by Little Red Riding Hood. Check it out. It's Sisterhoods
Cool.
on Webtoons.
Check it out, folks. And I think that's it. We don't have anybody else. So before we get into talking about the show, we are going to ask you to follow us on Twitch. We're trying to build our numbers on Twitch. We've got fantastic representation here on the YouTubes, Facebook Live, Twitch. We need to get those numbers up. So if you have a Twitch account, please go to that URL, twitch.tv/nerdcaliber, and follow us if you are of a mind to. If you're not, obviously that's fine too. But we're going to start with our number three, work our way down to number one. There's going to be an honorable mention in there somewhere. And Byron, what is your number three coolest protagonist?
So glad you asked. My number 3 is.
We wouldn't have much of a show if I didn't ask. But yeah.
My number 3 is the strongest jujutsu sorcerer in the entire series, Satoru Gojo. This guy, he gives zero fucks about the world of jujutsu sorcerers. He did the work to become the pinnacle of all jujutsu sorcerers, and because of that, he has carte blanche to be as disrespectful to the upper crust, the elites, the snobby jujutsu families that he can. And that's something that I aspire to, like in my own existence, like being able to just tell the powers that be to go sit on a cactus and rotate infinitely like he does.
I was going to say you aspire to being able to like obliterate things with your eyes. Like, okay,
Well, that would be cool too.
yeah, that would be cool. Rathacraft, welcome to the show. Yeah, I get so when I started watching this series, and he was very close to being on my list. I'll put it that way. He is an amazing character. When I started watching this series, I initially went, "Oh God, not a one of these cocky, I just hate these kind of guys, and Satoru Gojo is he lives up to it
Absolutely.
100%, and he's cocky but funny about it. Um, for the most part. Sometimes he gets a little serious with that with the cockiness, but that's usually when he's about to do some real harm. Um, so yeah, I'm with you 100% on this guy. Literally one of those characters that it's a trope, kind of a trope type that I really don't like, and then he just went, "Yep, okay, I'm on the Gojo train."
And he's got plenty of haters to go along with it. And you know
Yeah,
what they say? If you have haters, you're doing it right.
that's true. That's true, and he is a fantastic character. Um, yeah, and so if you haven't seen Jujutsu Kaisen, it's a wonderful anime. You should watch it. It is a very innovative take on supernatural
Battle shonen.
shonen battle.
Yes.
Um, and I mean innovative, great characters.
Yeah, it both perfects and deconstructs the shonen genre.
Marshall Lewis, good pick. Thank you very much. I agree with Byron's pick. 100%. My number three is Ellen Ripley. So the only reason Ellen Ripley is so low on my particular list, pardon me, is because in the first movie she is more, and even in Aliens and the subsequent movies, she's more of a badass than she is cool, except for Aliens. Ripley has pretty much the two most quotable lines in the entire franchise. Get away from her, you bitch. And repeating Hudson's line, I say we, lift off and nuke the whole planet from orbit. You know, those two, and the way she delivers both of them, particularly the second one, is just so cool. Um, so Ripley is cool. Ripley is way more a badass than cool. Ellen Ripley, of course, from the Aliens franchise, in case there's anybody out there who doesn't know who that was. Um, and so that's she's definitely on the list just because she's way more of a badass than she is cool. Otherwise, she'd be higher. Byron, numero dos.
Ooh. My number two, pretty. He's pretty legendary in his own right. The grandson of the original Gentleman Thief himself, Lupin the Third, Arsène Lupin the Third. If you want to get into specifics, now like a little backtracking on his legacy. So Arsène Lupin is a character written by one of the greatest authors in the world, Maurice LaMarche. He was a thief that robbed criminals, and the late great mangaka Monkey Punch eventually decided, I want to make a story about him, but I'm going to make it about his grandson. And somewhere along the line, this IP became a lot like the endurance of his character was akin to that of Scooby Doo. Like every couple of years, you see
Oops. Mic
every couple of
problems.
years, every couple of years, you see you see like a new movie or show, some sort of IP about it, just like just like him. I
And as an
mean,
aside, folks, that's why in actual productions they run those cables up through people's shirts, so you
yes.
don't knock your lav mic off your shirt. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, like Lupin, Lupin's Fiat is almost as iconic as the Mystery Machine. But I picked the character of Lupin the Third because he's not like whenever he's in the midst of a caper, he never loses it. He's always just like, chill, I got this. He'll he'll transform into a bit of a womanizer, but he'll never be like, oh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? It's like, even when the cops come involved, it's like, oh, hi, officer. It's like, yep, I did this. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, he is a. It took me a while to find. I wanted to get the image that I put up here, definitely from the 2D animation. Lately, they've been doing a lot of 3D, and it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but this character goes back far enough that most of representations of Lupin the Third are standard hand-drawn cell 2D animation.
Oh, absolutely. Some of the more modern incarnations have been top notch too,
Yep.
giving like a more of a sketchy quality to it.
Yeah. Yeah. This one I think is relatively recent. Okay, I can't remember the particular show it's from. Um, but and they, so when they do either movies or series, they're always basically it's like a Sherlock Holmes title. It is Lupin the Third and the something. Um, so which is really cool because that also ties into the whole Europeanness of the character was from a European writer, so it ties into the whole Europeanness of the sense of this very Japanese-made anime.
Fun little piece of trivia, actually. Maurice LaMarche actually tried to get Sherlock Holmes into the Arsène Lupin lore, but because Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was like, "Nope, this is mine," he ended up changing the name to Herlock Sholmes.
Yeah,
It's something.
if if that had happened in the last 20 years, somebody would be suing somebody. Marshall, I like Batman from Batman versus Superman. He's my number three. So he was really close for both of us. I think, as Byron put it, the only reason he's not on Byron's list, and essentially the same thing for me, is that he's kind of an obvious choice.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruce Wayne and Batman are both just wonderfully cool. So that's a good choice. I wouldn't criticize that at all. Again, we were just going for things that were a little bit less obvious than that. Having said that, my number one is pretty freaking obvious. But anyway.
The last part I want to like the last.
Okay, go ahead.
The last point I want to make, if you want to get an idea of just how cool Lupin the Third is, look up one of the. There's a theme. There was a specific theme song from the '60s called "Superhero." That is basically like the singer is basically in the guise of Lupin, talking about like why he is so cool and why he's so awesome.
That's pretty cool. You got people making songs about you.
Yes,
It means you're cool. All right, so my number two. I think this is actually pretty obvious, but I'm going with it anyway. Rick Deckard.
Yes.
Particularly in the original Blade Runner. Also pretty cool still in Blade Runner 2049, but definitely original Blade Runner movie Rick Deckard. Not the story, the Philip K. Dick story. I guess he's pretty cool in that story too, but not nearly so much as the way he is portrayed by Harrison Ford, of course, in the original Blade Runner
Cool
movie.
in his own right.
Well, yeah, he's a cool dude for sure. And you might say Han Solo. The reason Han Solo isn't on here, who is also a very cool Harrison Ford character, is because he tries really hard to be cool and occasionally hits it. But he's a character that just wants you to think he's cool. Rick Deckard is cool. Now, an awful lot of that is the noir world that was, the production designers built for, Ridley Scott's vision of this movie. But Ford grabbed that and went with it. So, in every scene, from, the sort of jazz soundtrack where, he's, drinking vodka while trying to wipe blood out of his mouth. I mean, come on.
That's pretty hard boiled.
That's very hard boiled. That's cool. And kids, not to say that drinking is cool. Just want to put that out there. Although in the hands of adults, it's often represented as one of the elements that make people cool.
So are fedoras.
And so are fedoras. So have been
Depends
fedoras.
on who's wearing them.
Yeah, depends on who's wearing them, and depends on kind of what what era.
I make it look good.
There you go. So Rick Deckard, Blade Runner, cool from the early 1980s and all the way through. Just the epitome of cool. So we're going into, before we get to our number ones, we're going into our honorable mentions. So Byron, who would you have up as your honorable mention?
My honorable mention is the cook of the Straw Hat Pirates, Sanji from One Piece. The guy has more drip than a runny nose. Like in most instances, he's wearing a suit with a really stylish tie. Especially when they get into like the final battles, it's just like, I'm gonna look good while I'm beating the crap out of this dude, and it's just exquisite when he does it. The only reason he's an honorable mention is because he's a perv in the truest sense. It's like he's all about he's thirsty as hell. It's like any badassery that he has goes right away as soon as he sees a gorgeous girl, and it's just like, dude, chill.
Yeah, and I have to say, so the image, let me bring it back up here. The image that I chose, it was really difficult to find a picture of Sanji in high enough resolution for what we use here, in his traditional blue double-breasted blazer and tie.
Yes.
And I don't know what it's funny with both of most of Byron's choices up to this point. Particularly the anime choices, Gojo and Sanji. I type it in, and more than 50% of all of the hits were fan art. Like, that's somebody's art. I can't use that. Like, come on, somebody's got to have clipped a cell from one of the. Yeah, that was tough. Yeah, and also I had a hard time finding, so I'm assuming this is an earlier look for him, because later on he has a really cool sort of goatee soul patch thing.
Yes. That's post time skip.
Yeah, after the time skip. That's what I figured. And again, really tough to find that. But if you're a fan of this or you want to get into it, jump on in. It's only 1,000 episodes long.
And over 1,000 chapters.
And 1,000 chapters. So whether you go for the manga or the anime, there are 1,000. You can start from number one, and you'll eventually stop before you die. But they're also now Netflix is doing the live action, and they announced the cast, and the cast looks pretty cool, I got to say. So you can maybe jump in there. I think that's where I'm going to start, because I don't want that.
Some of them are fans too, so that's another thing that makes it cool.
What's that?
Some of the people on the cast are fans.
Yes. But anyway, so awesome choice. My honorable mention, Captain Malcolm Reynolds, from Firefly and Serenity. Thank you.
I think it's a shiny choice.
Shiny choice. There you go. That's the better way to say it. So again, Firefly, a series that debuted in the early 2000s, ran for only one season. Actually, even a partial season at that. Yeah, which is criminal. But and then in the 2010s, we had the movie Serenity, which is the name of the ship, the Firefly class ship that they're on, and that was fantastic. That was great. Now, yeah, it's
still mad about Wash.
Yeah. No spoilers, please, for a movie that's 10-something years old.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Yes, it's a Joss Whedon product. We now know that's
the art from the artist.
Right, that's problematic, but separate the art from the artist and separate the portrayal from the person who created the character. Nathan Fillion here is as cool as you can get. The design of the character, I mean, they literally clearly went out of their way to make him cool. Fillion, and I'm assuming the writers as well, but certainly Fillion also brought a lot of stuff, which was the reason why he's a honorable mention and not one of my top 3, is that he's a cool doofus.
Yeah.
Mal doesn't... Mal screws up a lot.
Kind of like Sanji, who is also a cool doofus.
Yeah, there you go. And so for that reason, he doesn't rise to the level of my top 3. I think he's very cool, but he's also, a lot of times clumsy, particularly when dealing with people. He screws up a lot. So my cool doofus choice, Mal Reynolds, Firefly and Serenity. All right, Byron, hit us with that number one.
Before I say it, I have to ask you a question. Are you afraid of the boogeyman?
I'm not personally, but this would make me so.
Yes. I chose Baba Yaga himself, Mr. John Effin Wick. The man is a god amongst assassins. There are, first of all, you have to be a special human being to pull off black on black.
Yes.
In a suit. Not just anyone can pull off a black suit with a black tie. You want to talk about drip, it's like he comes in a suit and he's gonna ruin your day, but he's gonna look good doing it. And never mind the fact that he took out 3 guys with that fucking pencil.
Yep, he's a wonderful character. Now, I'm gonna say for people who might be a little concerned, this isn't technically nerd entertainment. It's an action thriller, but it's Keanu Reeves, and yes. Keanu Reeves has nerd cred, forever and ever and ever. So I let this one slide in. I don't know any nerd who has not watched this. So
same.
The gun fu, the amount. We knew that Keanu was willing to put his all into things when he trained for the martial arts stuff in The Matrix and the gunplay in The Matrix. The amount of practicing he did with knife work, with gun work, and everything for this is just insane.
Also, he has a lot of that same Spike Spiegel energy.
Yes. Yeah. Not the least of which is, really cool suits.
Yes. I would say, it's not a coincidence either because Keanu's gone on record saying that he had an interest in playing Spike at some point.
Yeah, he was trying to get the rights to do it as a movie, which is a real bummer that never happened. I don't think it would have taken anything away from the live action series, no. But what can you do? Excellent choice. John Wick is fantastic. I'm looking forward to the John Wick number 4.
Next year, right?
Next year. And also, they are finally starting to get the Continental series off the ground.
I hope it's on Netflix.
I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look at our coverage on it. We have talked about it, but I can't remember where it's supposed to land. All right. My number 1 is Black Panther T'Challa. And I go all the way back to Black Panther's first appearance, Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four, number 52, July 1966. He showed up as this potential villain, certainly an antagonist to the Fantastic Four, fought them all to a standstill by himself, because of Wakandan technology and the
Yep.
Black Panther spirit and all that other stuff, but by himself to test himself and the Wakandan technology against the toughest group around at the time. Badass and
Exactly.
super cool. Specifically T'Challa, there have been a number of Black Panthers, but specifically T'Challa, and specifically going all the way back to his, role as an antagonist for the Fantastic Four, then a member of the Avengers. Just a wonderful, wonderfully cool character. And then, Chadwick Boseman, rest in power, Chadwick Boseman. But when, when he took this character in Civil War, yeah, thank you, and just made it his own, made it even more cool, and then real life cool. He fought to use an actual African language to represent the language of Wakanda, and then had to learn it because the guy that they cast to play T'Chaka, his father, was a native speaker of that language.
It's awesome.
I mean, that's meta cool. That's a cool character, a cool actor, and that cool actor is a super cool human being.
He was dedicated to the role.
He was dedicated to the role. He was dedicated to the importance of the representation it meant to the role. And he took one of my absolute all-time favorite comic book characters, who represented the epitome of cool to me, and somehow made it more cool.
Expanded him.
Yes, he expanded. I was like, for a minute there, it's like, he was in The Expanse? I missed it? No. Sadly, he wasn't. And that's it, folks. We had a quick show. We ran through these really quickly. Usually we blather on about these things quite a lot more. But, we sneak it in under or within a half an hour. That's cool. Everybody gets to enjoy their ongoing Thanksgiving prep. For those of you who are in the United States here and watching or enjoying Thanksgiving this week, we understand it's at other times or it doesn't happen in many other places. Before we go, so tomorrow night we do have our Nerd Week Live news show, 8 o'clock as always. A bunch of really interesting things already up there on the docket, and we will not, as I said, be having a full fat spoiler chat this week because of the holidays here in the United States. Before we sign off, if you get a chance, folks, really love to have you check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/nerdcaliber. Really love having you support us there if you feel like you want to. Basically, what we do is we have 3 tiers. $2 is the lowest tier. The idea is we're going to take that, use it to get to more cons, more video for the YouTubes, for the Twitches, and so on, and also more articles and more photos and so on the website, nerdcaliber.com. So patreon.com/nerdcaliber. Please check it out if you get a chance. Byron, give us a goodbye.
You guys, great talking about things that I love, as always, with everyone here, the fans, you, Rodney. Check out my webcomic again. It's Sisterhoods on Webtoons. It's a good time.
Cool. Check it out, folks. And for me, I'm sorry, what?
I said pop that collar.
Pop that collar. There we go. That's more like. So for me, thank you very much. Please, folks, stay safe. There's a lot of travel going on here in the United States this week. People going to visit. Stay safe on the roads. Stay safe from COVID. I'm not going to bring
Get a booster shot if you can.
Get your shots if you haven't. Get your booster shots if you had, and you have the opportunity to get the booster shots. But yeah, so please stay safe out there, folks, and we will see you either tomorrow night or at an upcoming show